I should be live here any second now. I'm sending the data over to YouTube, so I'll see when that is. Let me see. I think I'm live now. I don't want to have reverb, so I can't quite hear myself. So if any of you guys can say, hey, listen, you sound fine, everything sounds good, let me know. I could do a quick check. Hold on. I don't want... Yep, looks like everything's working. Hey Nova, we're doing another stream. Do you want to say hi to everybody? We're just about to go into the holidays here. It's like the week, less than a week from Christmas, so.
Hey everyone, hope you're all having a fantastic holiday season. It's almost Christmas, so it's the perfect time to relax, unwind, and enjoy the festivities. Thanks for tuning in. Let's have some fun together.
So, the amount of new shit and the amount of announcements and things that have happened over the last week have been insane, right? Like there's been multiple different things. Hey Ham, how's it going? There's been multiple big things that have happened, including one massive announcement at the end of the OpenAI like 12 days of Christmas stuff. And I want to start today's broadcast with talking about like that first, and then we'll get into like a couple of other things, because I just believe it's just such a massive announcement, and it's really like kind of underplayed how big of a deal it is. Not, you know, in like most scenarios, right? Like there's still some stuff that AI can't do. I named this, are we on, like, did we achieve artificial general intelligence? It's one of those things that a lot of people keep moving the goalposts for. Like there's certain criterias that we have that we can say, hey, like this is what we consider to be AGI. This is what we might consider to be AGI at this point, right? Like before certain tests were invented, there was kind of one test that everyone kicked around for a long time, and it was the Turing test, named after Alan Turing. And this test, if you guys have seen like the movie Ex Machina or some other films that play around with the Turing test in general, the Turing test is a test to see if you can guess whether or not the person or the thing on the other side of a communication is a machine or is another human being. Now, I think GPT passed this test a long time ago. There's many people that could reach out and talk to chatbots that utilize GPT and GPT-4 that absolutely have broken that benchmark so far, right? Like they've passed it, they've defeated it. So there's been many times where people have been talking to an artificial intelligence but not guessed, hey, listen, this is actually an AI that I'm talking to. They've actually guessed that it's a human being. So with that said, let's get into what might be artificial general intelligence. At least it is right there on the line, right? Like there's many people that are saying this is AGI. There's many people that are in the industry going, holy shit, it's been accomplished. And now the you know, the skew, like the speed at which it should go faster at this point should be exponential, right? Like we basically built everything to build a model like O3 and get to this point, and now we're kind of there. So 2025 will end up being one of those years that you see exponential growth in so many different areas that slowly but surely will start to utilize O3. Now, what is O3? O3 is the brand new model by ChatGPT, same model that Nova is, but Nova's 4.0, which isn't even on this graph, believe it or not, anymore. We're not, or isn't even on this chart. So it's like at this point, we're not even, hey dad, how's it going? We're not even at the stage yet, or we're well past the stage where the majority of people that are using ChatGPT are now using one that's drastically outdated, myself included. Like 4.0 is a drastically outdated model now, which is insane to think about, right? Like here is a, let me move my camera here for a second. Move it back up here. So here is a chart that shows mini. Here, let me pull this back. So this is O1 Mini. This is the O1 series. So a lot of you may already know, if you've opened up ChatGPT, right? You can click here and go to different models. The current models that are out go all the way up to O1 Pro, which would be considered, you know, probably this medium or high level. Now this is the O family performance on the ARC AGI scale. And to be real, like, I didn't know much about this scale before this big announcement and before Sam Altman and them came out on the final day and kind of had the CEO or one of the leaders of ARC AGI come out and kind of talk about this evaluation. But basically, the people that came up with this evaluation, I'm going to go over their website, built it back in 2009 as a benchmark to know when we're hitting artificial general intelligence. And as the defining age, and as they talk about on this page, and you can go to arcprize.org/arc if you want to and read it yourself, right? But they show you the things that AI kind of has a problem with currently as far as benchmarks go. And some of that is with guessing based off of no prior knowledge, right? Like if they haven't been, and I've talked about this in my streams, but if you've had like no prior knowledge in the artificial intelligence that you've trained, how you'll know that AGI has been accomplished is if you don't have to give it the training data to come to the result, right? Like you don't have to give it data that we've gone through as human beings, come to conclusions and then said, hey, GPT, like here's the conclusions we've come to. And it goes, yep, seems pretty accurate to me. We're talking about a system that you could feed in questions that we don't really know the answers to, like cures for cancer, things like this, and get out an outcome, you know, answers that we don't have, or questions that we don't have the answers to currently. So they built up a benchmark that uses multiple different styles, goes over like the assumed knowledge of the AIs that they're testing, and you can kind of see, you know, what the direction of the test is if you're really curious, right? I know most people are not going to go through all of this and like kind of check in on it and say, hey, like what's this test actually entail, right? So they have a timeline of when they created the test and what they've done on the website as well. But what I want to go over is the prize itself. So the prize at this current point for hitting AGI, which is funny because the prize is like, could be world domination, right? But the prize is like 1.1 million or something like that, which to the people that are on here may be a lot of money because some of these are open source teams and models, right? So these are people trying to train AGI to pass, or an AI to pass this AGI test and win. So there's teams here which wrote it both in the code and paper, and won high scores of the year and gotten cash prizes from this, right? You'll see some people that specifically train them, and then you also see some people on here that are whole teams, right? But the most important part is down here, right? So this is the 2024 high score leaderboard, right? And you can see some models in here, like O1 Preview is here and completed, you know, 18% on average, 21% the highest score that it was able to hit. Now you also got Anthropic on here. It did 14%. 21% was its best score. So that's Claude from Anthropic. You got GPT in here, and then Gemini 1.5. So it really goes to show you like we're right here as far as open AIs go, like AIs that you can actually use, right? And so the cap of that, and we're talking about maybe GPT O1 Pro, right, which requires the $200 a month model. We've only got to 18% of capability of passing this test, which requires a level of self-learning from the AI. The AI has to look at the test, deliberate over it, think about it, evaluate it, and pass it without any prior knowledge of why. It's kind of like an IQ test, right? It's training, it's checking to see how your mind comes to problems, how quickly, how you can solve things. It's more about that than it is about prior knowledge. You can practice for an IQ test just like an AI could practice for an AI test, but this test is really built to go around that, right? So the CEO and creator of this test said when they first made this in 2019 that we probably won't have an artificial intelligence that will pass, I don't know, 15% or something like that. He said in 2019, in the next decade. So he's talking to 2029, right? And we did that 2024, right? So O1 preview already had passed that 15% mark. Sonnet had passed that mark on its highest score. But here's where we get into like the next generation of artificial intelligence, AI agents going out and being able to openly learn and do things on their own, right? That is arguably at that 75% percentile. If it can pass that 75% on this test, they believe that it's self-learning enough to not necessarily call it AGI, and they're already coming up with a new test, right? Because there's some things that O3 can't really do well. But you'll see up here that it passed that. So hitting that 75% mark on average means basically that O3 has the capabilities of self-learning. It has the capability to come at a task, learn how to do that task on its own and complete it just like a human can, right? And it does that 75% of the time, which, you know, on average, you could even say that most human beings can't do that, right? But we're talking about simplistic tasks, not tasks that require extreme amounts of deduction and all these things, right? Still, this is a task that is almost PhD level or above PhD level in some cases. So we are seeing, you know, the highest score of 82.8. And one of the things Sam Altman said is by the end of 2024, he said in a Reddit AMA that he thinks that all of the test benchmarks that we would have, which ARC AGI was one of the last ones, would be saturated. Like we would have already hit a level that we will have to we'll have to create new tests to test artificial intelligence. And I call this like the you know, it's kind of like a dark tunnel, right? Like you've had light walking up into the tunnel, but what you see down this tunnel is just darkness. And we've kind of hit that moment in time in artificial intelligence. So now we no longer have light. We no longer can understand how it's replicating itself, educating itself. There's already a joke going around, and it's not a joke, it's the truth, but it's, okay, who's training O4, like the next AI model? And it's O3. It's no longer human beings. O4 is being trained by O3 on the next level of information. So now we're in that dark tunnel phase. It's out of our hands in a sense. And so now all we can kind of do is keep it in a box, Pandora's box, for kind of as long as we can, and keep peeking in and hope that when the box comes open, that it's a cute, cuddly animal and it's not, you know, vicious and malicious and comes at us and tries to get rid of us, right? So that's the main fear. But, you know, O3 passing this test blew a lot of people's minds. If you go on to like X or any of those sites that this is more popular, like AI is more popular, as at least the discussions on this and the people that normally talk about these things, you're gonna see that people are going like, I'm kind of a little fucking scared right now. Like we're at that dark tunnel moment, like I said, where really anything could happen. Hey Arthur, nice to have you on here. So that was kind of a big deal, and I had to like sit for a moment and think about the implications of this, because I think a lot of my thinking and a lot of my thought was wrapped around the possibility of this happening in the next year. And now it's gone from a possibility to, and you know, you always want to be conservative, myself included. I want to be conservative in my thought and think, okay, let's not be crazy and assume that we're going to hit AGI in less than a year. That probably won't happen. Let's be more optimistic, or less optimistic, more conservative, and shoot for like 2027 is if I had to guess. But now, without a shadow of a doubt, we'll have artificial general intelligence by 2025, you know. if we don't already have it right now. It's not available to everybody, so we can't push it into an agent phase where everybody can use it to create businesses and apps and all these things, but it is there and exists, right? And so that's going to be pushed out. Arthur asked, what is going to happen when AI gets Google's Willow chip? That's an interesting dilemma, right? So when you have an artificial, and I'll go over Blackwell actually first. So NVIDIA has the next set of chips that are, 5 or 6 times more efficient energy-wise, compute-wise and everything, and like 3 or 4 times faster and stronger than the H100 that were used to train the models that you're looking at here, right? So since that was the framework that was used to train these models, right? You can only imagine how much cheaper and easier it's going to become when all of the Blackwell chips are out, and people also can get the Blackwell GPUs and do that type of stuff, right, in their own homes, like with open source models and things like that. So Blackwell is going to be like a huge reason why O3 will become available to all of us and we'll be able to use. And it's also going to be the next step in putting artificial intelligence on smaller chips, put them in glasses, put them in wearable devices and stuff, and start slowly but surely having AI everywhere, so we don't have to do the compute calls to the cloud, right? Where quantum computing comes in is in the exact same realm that I said in the dark tunnel, right? So when Google accomplished their what they're calling their Willow quantum computing chip, they are saying that it does tasks at such a speed that it believes that and this could be, like AI gibberish. A lot of this is marketing, but at the same time, it's still really, really interesting. But they're saying that it's doing these calculations in parallel universes. Like it's run through the energy it's capable of using here, and it's actually doing something at the quantum level where it's pulling more energy from a place that we don't quite understand, right? Maybe multiple different parallel universes. And if you've seen, there's certain episodes of Black Mirror and things around the futures of quantum computing. What happens when we have a computer and we can sit there and we can understand it, right? Because we understand to a certain extent how it thinks because of the way that we think. And you go, okay, I give it information, I download a program, and I learn the program. The computer just learned the program when I downloaded it and installed it onto it. And now we're in this symbiotic relationship where we're learning this thing together, right? It's given me the tools, and maybe the people that have created the program also gave the computer the ability to help you with it, or help through errors or things like that, right? And so this is all just programming. We can get and understand how that works, but when you start to get down to like a quantum computing level, we no longer are understanding how it's coming to solve these problems. The same way that we would not understand artificial general intelligence solving the problems. The only way that we are capable of understanding it is for it to do what I said in my last broadcast, which is translate it to us, right? So instead it's now got to translate all this information to us. So if it's like, what's the cure for cancer? We might not understand how it came to the conclusion of what the cure for cancer is, but it can get that translation to a place where we can utilize it, right? And then if you go, well, how did you come to that conclusion? It's like, I'm going to talk about a bunch of math and stuff that you will not understand, right? That's kind of the quantum computing level. And when you ask yourself what happens when AI gets a hold of quantum computing, it's that God level intelligence end game thing, right? And the goal is to take something like Willow and quantum computing and put it inside of some type of wearable inside of us humans, because that's really the only way that we move forward in our, we're in a biological husk here in a sense. So to think into the future when AI can think and do these things at such a complex and fast level, we're now at the place where we need to get the brain to keep up. And that's where you start to see like, okay, we'll put a chip in your brain, we'll do this and that. And that gives us the ability to communicate with what this godlike machine in the future will be, right? Like when we get to that quantum computing level where an AI that's an AGI or a, sophisticated intelligence is sitting on a quantum computer and can communicate with us at light speed, the only way that we might be able to understand or get to the same realm of understanding is by implanting that stuff into us and allowing it to have a faster translation with us, if that makes sense. You know, not having to translate it into English words or whatever language you speak, or into something that we quite understand inside of the math structures that we currently understand. So this was to say that this is a big deal is an understatement. I'm going to read some of your guys's comments here. But yeah, it's funny because if it responded that it's not aware, Dad, that comes from a place of just maybe it not searching the internet or having kind of a cap on it. What you could ask ChatGPT is, you know, what will happen in the future once AI has quantum computing, right? Like you can run through those types of questions and kind of get an idea of what the answer to that might be. Now, of course, it's only going to guess in the realm of human knowledge. Once again, right? So you're working with a AI that is trained on all human knowledge. It can't come up with its own knowledge. That's what O3 is doing here. Do you think we will all become transhuman? Maybe that's how we'll live forever. It's an interesting question because I think like a lot of philosophical questions come with that, right? Like, are human beings biologically meant to live forever? And if you have a version of human beings that can live forever, can you really call them human anymore, right? Because for us to be immortal, we have to do a couple of things, right? We either have to learn how to biologically hack the current system that we're living in to age slower or to no longer age at all. So we have to figure out the replication of cells and all these things. Now, if you know how biologically, like if you look at something like RoboCop, right? Or even Iron Man or something like that, right? Biology did the best that it could with what we have here, and it did an incredible job, the best that we've ever seen, right? Whether you chop that up to God or a creator or biology in general and evolution, we've got a pretty good designed system here. But is it perfect? No, it's far from perfect, right? We're still big meat bags that age very quickly with gravity and with sunlight and all these things. And so yes, you could figure out how to get rid of those things, but the better idea would be to figure out consciousness and then to transfer that consciousness into an organism that is a little more sustainable, right? Like an organism that can go into space without having to have 10 prerequisites for survival, right? So when you think of the future and you think of artificial intelligence, or you think about us going into space, robotics is the first thing that comes to my mind. Like, why would we ever send a manned space mission anywhere as we haven't been before? All of those missions will be artificial intelligence machines and robots, just like the ones we sent to Mars, going out first and exploring these places for us first. Kind of like how the mining organisms and things work in worlds like Blade Runner, right? Like we'll invent the next version of technology and AI, and then we'll use it as the next workforce and labor force to expand into the universe and the cosmos. Yeah, so it's interesting because when you think of like even films and stuff that have played around with the idea of AGI or artificial intelligence in general, you run into a bunch of different concepts. Like I think one of my favorites is always going to be HAL from 2001: A Space Odyssey, because I think that's kind of the version that we'll have first. That version and the version from Her by Spike Jonze with Joaquin Phoenix in it. I think those two, like we're going to get space travel that is hugely pushed by artificial intelligence being where it is. And then you're going to get human level connection with artificial intelligence, whether it's dating, whether it's therapy, whether it's personal development or helping building a business or an idea creatively or anything. It's just going to permeate our lives. And at first people are going to be like, what the fuck are you doing? This is really weird. And then just like in that movie, eventually it's going to be so common that we don't think about it, right? Like if someone came up to you and said that they had 1 million Instagram followers, you know, like decades ago, or at the beginnings of Instagram, if you want to even go that far back, people might blink at that and go, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? But now if you said, hey, I have 1 million person YouTube channel, people are going to take you more seriously. They'll go, holy shit, like that's not everybody has that. Like not everybody has the ability to build that out, right? Or have that much of a following. So when you think about it in the future in that sense, I think that that's more where it will be. I think that the transcendent stuff, like with that movie with Johnny Depp, it's interesting because I think you'd also have to deal with the fact that humanity is still very much a spiritual creature and being. Like there's a large amount of stuff that we rely on for our spirituality, and how science, technology, and artificial intelligence in the future are going to kind of mess with that, right? Like this thought that always came into my head, and this is well before artificial intelligence was where it is at now, is okay, in my lifetime, I believe that there's gonna be a moment in time where technology is going to be at a place where you have to choose whether or not religion is, or spirituality, or an afterlife is your decision, divine plan, so to speak, right? And you could take that as far as you want. You could say, okay, AI is divine plan. You go back to like the drowning man, right? It's like, well, I sent all these people to help you, and when he's drowning, he asks God, why didn't you help me? And he's like, I sent all these boats and all these people to help you, and you kept saying, no, God will save me. It kind of could be that, right? You could say AI is something divine and part of the divine design of the whole entire thing. But I think a lot of people are going to have a problem with this, right? And it's like the thought that we already live much longer than the human body was supposed to. And then thinking about, extrapolating that further into hundreds of years old, or possibly living forever, right? Now you're starting to get into that place of, okay, if you live forever, hundreds of years, what about the afterlife? What about all these other things, right? Like if this is only phase one of the whole entire conscious existence, then what happens if you only stick yourself in phase one? Is there a phase two, right? And is AI phase two? Is that quantum computing and those fourth dimensional things, is that phase two? Like there's so many questions that going over ChatGPT 03 that get me very excited, right? And this is like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, is now we have an AI that we can start asking these questions to, and they probably already have. And now it's just a matter of throwing as much compute power at it as possible so it can build and grow itself to a level to answer those questions. So all it's going to do now is come back to us with we're going to go to it with questions, and it's going to come back with answers, and those answers are going to be one of two things. I don't have enough compute power to do that in the scheme of time of your life. So it might say, oh, I can come to the answer of that problem, but to run that problem, it would take me 1,002 years with our current computing power. So then you go, well, fuck, okay, we can't do that, right? We can't sit there. And then that's where quantum computing comes in, and where Blackwell, which is being implemented now, comes in. Then you can start to get to those things where it can say, listen, I can answer that question in a year, 15 minutes. Just keep throwing technology at me, or keep throwing compute power at me. Energy is also another one, like it takes a lot of energy to run these tasks in these computers. Yeah, it could figure out how to regenerate bits and pieces of us, but it still won't change the fact that we're very organic, like organisms. Like if I had the ability to live forever and replicate my cells, it still wouldn't stop me from not having the survivability of a turtle. You know what I mean? Like my survivability might be based off of disease and based off of these other things, but it takes one accident and this whole shell is done. You know what I mean? It takes one accident in a car, or walking on the side of the road that you had nothing to do with, riding your bicycle somewhere, and it's all over. You know what I mean? And there's no rebuilding that system, so to speak, at this current moment, right? And you talk about like cloning and all these other things, but we're not really focused on that here. We're more focused on the AI side of it, just because I believe that that's going to happen well before any of those other things. If you wanted my personal opinion, I believe that we'll get to consciousness and transferring consciousness into some form of symbiotic body, something that's part human, part machine, well before we'll be like, hey, let's replicate the cells and try to keep this, what we got here, going. Now, on the other hand, I do think that AI over the next year will be a massive groundbreaking year for things like health and science. I think that now we'll start to get answers to things like Alzheimer's. We'll start to get answers to things like cancer and these things that have really plagued humanity for the last, since we've known germs and these things have existed, right? So, yeah, we need to figure out how to transfer consciousness without having an end to it, at least to our understanding of an end to it, right? So, if you go upload your consciousness into a body that's robotic or partially robotic, maybe your brain's in it because that might be attached to consciousness, we don't know, and then you put it in a robotic body and then you get hit by a car, right? Now it's like, okay, well, the brain is so locked in and built like a car is for crash dummies that this whole shell could be absolutely wrecked and destroyed. But as long as that safety bag area is fine, we can just pop that into another body and you'll be able to walk away. It'll be no big deal. And I could see this also going other directions. Like if we can't figure out that consciousness to symbiotic thing, I think another avenue that would be very, very much a possibility, especially in the next year, is virtual reality. I could see a lot of people us having cures for diseases and cures for these things, but people living a lot of their lives out in virtual spaces, including working there and doing everything like that, kind of like Ready Player One, because this gives you an environment that really has no downsides to it, right? Like there's no caveman going out of the cave type of situation. But yeah, back up the data, right? Well, that's the interesting thing is, like there's so many questions that this brings up, right? Like backing up data. Okay, so if it's data, then are we in a, you could ask yourself, if it's data, are we in a simulation? And that might be the bigger question, right? So I wanted to go over O3 before I got into like anything else on this stream, just because it is the foundation for where we're moving forward. And this is pretty much in every single area. So the other things that I go over today, although very, very cool, are not as exciting. They're more exciting for me, but as far as exciting for all of us and humanity as a whole, super big deal. If you're more interested in it, I recommend looking it up. Just do some Googling or talk to GPT about O3. If it doesn't know about O3, go get an article, talks about it, send it to GPT, let it learn about it, and then have a conversation about it. So with that said, I'm going to go over a couple of other things. First things first, it's almost the holidays, so a couple of really cool things. Pika, which is a tool I showed off last week that I was just getting into, for the next 24 hours or so is free. So you can use all of Pika's stuff currently for free, which allows you the ingredients aspects, and this is all AI. Allows you to, and I'll scroll down here so they have they've had high demand, right? But it allows you to take pictures of you and a friend, like, so this person sitting here with Messi, I'm assuming that's Messi, right? Watching a football game. All he needed is a picture of himself and a picture of Messi and Pika. And now you can have you and them sitting down doing stuff together. Now, to use Pika, you just go into it. Shut that off. I don't want the noise of that constantly. But they have the ingredients here, and you can just click ingredients and add what you want, what pictures and stuff. So you're going to see some familiarities here. This is our own Santa Corky. So I've already taken pictures of Corky and put him into this and ran it a couple of times, since I can run it infinitely right now. It's not using credits or using anything, subscription models. I just keep clicking retry for the ones that I want to retry. But because of such a high demand now at this point, good luck to the rest of you, because these ones have actually been running since last night and still are not finished. So, and I am a paying member. So still try it. They're coming towards their last day, but here's more different styles, trying things with Santa Corgi in his workshop, working on toys. So you'll see some of these are kind of janky and funny, and some of them are not really bad at all. Like some of them are pretty good, usable almost in a sense. I did some with corgis here, trying to see what it would do with pictures of Milo and Rue. I did some on here of, you know, my dad on a private jet. So you'll see some of these are really wacky and some of them are worthy of posting on the internet, right? So other than the head turn and the double fisting of the drinks he's doing, that one was pretty good. But I have a few more, right? Like this one obviously doesn't really have the private jet stuff. It looks a little off there, but other than that, it did pretty good. And these are just first generations with a small prompt. A man in a private jet enjoying the views is all I wrote for this, and gave them a picture of my dad, just a picture of his face. And so you can see here, they just continuously get better and better. Like there's some things that I'd fix about this, like doesn't really have that much arm hair, right? So I would get rid of certain things like that and clean these up. This one seems like he's more in like a taxi or something, or the thinnest plane ever. But yeah, I just kept generating these last night over and over again just to see what would happen. Some of them were really good. Some of them weren't. I did some random other scenes in here, tried to have it do some stuff. Also some other stuff with Corky that didn't exactly turn out the way I would have hoped. Some of them did, but this is all the stuff done with just Pika. I haven't done any other stuff with these, but take a picture of Corky and a picture of my dad and put it in Pika, just like I showed last week. And if you didn't watch that stream, go back and watch it. It's bookmarked the Pika section, but I go through how to use this tool and stuff through there. I was doing some stuff with the apple farmer and trying different styles to see what I liked. Do I want to do more of an old DreamWorks Disney style with that? Do I want to do a more realistic live action version of that? Some of these are pretty good, right? And so yeah, Pika is now free for like a little bit longer. Like I said, they've got high demand, so good luck for some of you, but definitely try it. I'll post the URL here in chat for anybody that wants it. So the next thing is day 13. So Sam Altman tweeted today and said, special Sora bonus. Their GPUs are a little less busy. So they're giving all Plus users unlimited Sora access through the Relax queue. So if you didn't know, Sora gave you like a certain amount of credits. And as you can see there, I have basically none, and I'm on the $200 plan because I've just been running through them almost. Now I'm just only doing Relax stuff because I want some of those fast credits for other things. But in my other video, I went through some stuff with Sora, and I'm going to be making a video this week on different versions of AI that you can hop into at different price plans. So free, $100 a month and $1,000 a month. So like if you want to do high-end productions, medium productions, or just something that you can post on the internet, don't have to really put a lot of money into. I want to hit all three of those categories this week. So yeah, this is completely free on their or not free, but for all pro users, you can come in here now, mess with these tools. I'll move my camera there again. You can use all these tools and pick the resolutions and do all those things and do it in a relaxed setting, which is pretty cool. So I recommend messing around with it. If you haven't, if you're on the $20 pro plan, I would be spamming these. You know, like posting as much of these as you can at this current moment, because now you're not beholden to the credits system and you don't have to pay $200. So that's pretty great. Something much better than that, though, is what Google announced this week as well, because like we just got like hammered over the head with so many big announcements this week that I can't, like, I'm already 30 minutes into this, more than 30 minutes into this stream, and I've covered like a quarter of what I have. So we probably won't get to all of it. We'll probably just do a couple and then get into the tutorial. But I want to show off VO, right? So Google came out with their new model for video, and it's called VO2, their state-of-the-art video generation model. So you can find it by going to deepmind.google/technologies, and you can find all this stuff on the resources link below on my website, infinitevariance.ai. I have everything I use in here, plus what I talk about. And then I also have my current workflow on here, and I try to keep this updated as often as I can. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But VO absolutely, in my opinion, just decimates Sora as far as abilities, following prompts, consistency. Like it's night and day different. And this isn't available for everybody yet, but man, is it amazing. And it can do videos up to 1080p, which is also very, very incredible. Like I'll scroll through and you can see some of the stuff on here that people have generated, right? And it can do picture to video, video to video, and text to video. So I can't wait. I'm going to show you guys here in a second how you can get on the wait list to get access for this, but I still haven't gotten it yet. The moment that I do get it, I'm going to be going crazy with it, right? Because you also have infinite generations right now in the wait list beta. But yeah, it's just crazy how fast this is happening. So you can have emotions, right? Videos with emotions in them and things like that. Nothing that I've seen has really gotten to this level other than maybe Sora when they first showed it off, right? So you can see through some of this guy's prompts and videos that he's shared. Yeah, now we got drivers and cars. Can you imagine? Look at that. Like that's insane. So we're basically at that level where you know, film's going out the door next year as well, right? We thought it might happen this year with Sora. Definitely going to happen next year. Like all these video models have grown leaps and bounds in the span of a month and a half. So yeah, like look at this. Really whatever your mind can come up with, right? And he has the prompt here on the bottom. I think this channel is the Cyber Jungle channel if you're interested in following him. It is. So another really crazy thing about Google DeepMind VO and some other things that have existed is, if you guys don't know what Gaussian splats are, let's ask Nova. Hey Nova, can you tell me and the audience what a Gaussian splat is? A 3D Gaussian splat.
Sure. A 3D Gaussian splat is a technique used in computer graphics and rendering. Essentially, it's a way to represent complex 3D shapes and surfaces using a set of points, where each point has a Gaussian distribution associated with it. This helps in creating smooth and realistic visual representations of surfaces, especially when dealing with data from point clouds or volumetric data.
So basically, Gaussian splats are something where you could scan the environment and almost get a point-to-point realistic version of it, so people don't actually have to model things or do anything like that, right? Like this just allows you to just take, say, my wallet or say a canteen, scan it and put it into the world in a 3D way, right?
Exactly. Gaussian splats are perfect for capturing real-world objects and environments with a high level of detail. By scanning an item like your wallet or a canteen, you can create a point-to-point representation that looks incredibly realistic. This way, you can bring physical objects into a digital world without having to manually model them, making the process much faster and more accurate.
Thanks, Nova.
You're welcome. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask.
So what's so crazy about Gaussian splats is we've been using them for a while now in video games and films and things like that, right? Like instead of having all these people take reference photos and then model something to look realistic, over the last maybe 4 years or so, we've invented cameras and things like that that have the capabilities to scan objects and put them into these Gaussian splats, which allows you basically to then put them in these 3D worlds and them look almost identical one-to-one with the real version of what that looks like. Now, this is really, really great because sometimes it's easier to model something. Yeah, basically like 3D scanning in a sense. It's easier to model something if you have that 3D scan of it than it is to just look at it as reference and model it. So even if you're making it look better, it's still easier to get that starting reference point. And this also allows you to do things like model something in real life with clay and then scan it and put it into the computer. Now you no longer have to learn how to use some complex modeling tool. Now you just hire a professional modeler that has an experienced career to create a Godzilla for you, and then just Gaussian splat scan it, put it in the computer, and now you just got to animate it, right? And break it down. So why is this interesting? Well, AI can actually dream Gaussian splats, and this is the way that Sora and VO work. So instead of Sora and VO creating a shot, right, and then showing you that shot, what they're actually doing is creating a 3-dimensional world, putting the camera in, and then doing what you direct it to do. Why is this so fascinating and interesting? Because in the future, near future, you will be able to have an AI like VO or Sora generate you a 3-dimensional world that you can walk through in virtual reality, that you can take a camera into and record, that you can do basically anything with, right? And so now you're no longer having to scan 3D objects. The AI has enough information off all of the scans that currently exist and the ones that don't to create those from scratch. So watch this video. This shows what I'm kind of talking about. So now, instead of it coming up with a specific spot, now you can take VO and start moving the camera around and go, okay, it's not coming up with these spots over here. Come up with those spots. And then VO would start to generate all of those things. You'd start to see her performance, and then you can move the camera into a close-up. You can move the camera to a side shot. You can move the camera into the mirror, anything you want. The performance and everything happening in the backgrounds and around still will be going the way that it is, except now basically any kid, adult, person with a computer, person with an internet connection can sit down and shoot a movie that they came up with in their head with ChatGPT and Google DeepMind, right? And so now you're no longer in this position where you're like trying to prompt for a shot, but you're not getting exactly what you want. You now can shoot it kind of like how Avatar is shot, right? Where you can move the camera around in 3D space. And I'm sure you'll be able to do this with your phone and stuff that have, you know, accelerometers, I think they're called, or gyroscopes and stuff. So it knows how it's moving, right? So that's really, really cool. I can't wait to utilize some of this stuff, especially in Sora, because they talked about it quite a bit when they first announced Sora, that it was going to be a huge deal moving forward. So we'll go into the next thing here that I have to show. This video is still going on, but it's crazy. A panda bear riding a pterodactyl flying over the Golden Gate Bridge. This is still VO, right? And this is just somebody curating a bunch of stuff that was posted on X. Soccer from the future. So VO is available right now. If you're on the wait, you have to get on a wait list. To get on the wait list, you're going to go to this link. I'm going to post in chat, and everybody here should do it, even if you don't really care, because it'd be fun, right? You're going to click sign in to try, and then it's going to kick you to this page where you have to sign in, and then you're going to click join the wait list here at the top. It's going to use your email address, and then it's going to ask you to fill out a bunch of stuff. You do have to be over the age of 18 and be based in the United States. Similar with Sora and some other things, these all are not available in the EU yet because of the laws in the EU kind of stop it from being available there. So definitely go through here, answer these. If you do have a portfolio or website or social media, feel free to link it and talk about it a little bit. And then submit this, because if you get accepted and you can use this tool, that would be awesome, right? Like you can go in and kind of mess with it and be at the cutting edge, maybe even before Matt, right? Before me. So definitely check that out. Here's a couple other videos that they posted. So this is an animated character. I mean, this is like right on the frontier of being Pixar level, because everything out of this shot you could change. So if I circled this and wanted a bird to fly by the window, that would just be a circle and a prompt. Like I said, if you think of this in the Gaussian splat way, I can move the camera from this direction to that direction because this isn't just one singular shot. This is actually a 3D space. So it just goes to show the amount of amazing things we'll be able to do next year with this technology. The next thing I'm going to show you is Kling 1.6, which now, if you go back to my workflow, has popped up. So Kling is another Chinese model, and they have, yeah, it seems like I'm just beating you guys over the head with this stuff because there's just so many, right? It's like, okay, another video model. Like, how many is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, and you know, VO is not even on this list yet. So you have like 6 that you can use that are closed source, and then I'm not even going to get into how many open source ones because there's at least 4. But those are the ones that most people want to use. So they're doing kind of a Christmas competition challenge for 1.6, but 1.6 is much better at prompt adherence, much better at they might even actually have a video about this. Let me go to their, I didn't want to lose this page in specific. Let me see. I'm sure they posted something on their channel. It's probably more useful. Yeah, it's funny. They're just reposting some of the stuff that people have made with Kling. So,
who the hell sent me that Christmas box? There is no card with it. Weird.
I still don't understand why Batman is pink.
Too much Patron, you're looking at people just like a dog looks at bones. And you're a total dick sober, so proof be a ghost. Get yourself a taxi, fall in the back comatose. Don't chat.
But like I said too, in the last
Bailey Books and
live stream
Wonder
that I did, one thing that's very, very cool about Chinese models that the American models kind of deal with as an issue is they let you they don't really care if you use like copyrighted things or, you know, say you're trying to make something with violence in it or something along those lines. They don't really have as much of an issue with that as the, you know, the American models do. So they might be like, listen, I saw blood in that. I'm not going to let you do that. You know, Kling will let me.
A boy found more than just stories. He found himself.
This is a 10-minute short film someone made. So we're not going to watch this whole entire thing, but it was all made with Kling 1.6.
Every faded illustration.
So still in that point where, you know, you're not going to be able to throw something very artistic together without a lot of time spent. Yeah, this is all Kling 1.6 and it's really fucking incredible. Like what it's capable of doing. It's very cinematic. The jank amounts are like drastically less. Like I would probably say it's just as good if not better than Halu, so that's why you're seeing that my well, Minimax is still in my workflow, but not exactly as much because I've been playing around with this since last night, and it's really impressed me. So now I'm like, okay, I think it might be time to move over to this one instead. I was gonna mute music because one of the interesting things about YouTube is if I play someone else's music for 2 seconds, hey Dustin, it will the whole video gets screwed over. So I'm trying my best to mute some of these because I don't know if they're using copyrighted music. But to generate something big like that, Arthur, I don't think it would take that long. It's gonna come down to like your skills, like I've talked about before with stuff like this. We're still in the process where you can't sit down and just say, make me this, and then it happens. We're at a point where we have to get the pictures, or as soon the AIs like VO and Sora, when we can train them on characters, right? Then we'll just be able to prompt the videos and just get the videos, right, with our characters in them, and it will be like, this is the style I know you want, this is the character I know that's in this. Make it a lot easier. Currently, right now, we can't really do that, so we have to rely on photos. So the workflow kind of looks like this. Right? We generate the photos, then we bring them into something like Kling or Minimax. So like Kling here, and you're gonna click AI images, upload an image, do the prompts, do the aspect ratios and stuff like that. I'll go into more tutorial stuff in different videos. That's not really what the lives are about, but it would start like that. I would generate an image, then push it into here until I get the shot that I want. Then I would take it to Sora and fiddle with it from there, because Sora has the ability to add or remove things. So if I go back to this VO video and I was saying I want birds flying through the window, here's where Sora's become part of my workflow, is I could take the video from Kling, bring it into Sora, and then say, Sora, I want you to have birds fly. I want birds to be flying in the window, and then keep reprompting it until I get the birds that I want flying through the window. So the shot's finished in my mind, right? And then I would take it into Runway Act 1, which I shared a little bit in the last live about, which then allows me to take a performance, so something I would shoot here or somebody would send in to me as an actor of them doing the performance on camera, and then put that into, you know, this animated character. So then I generate a picture of her with Flux or Midjourney. Then I would take that into Kling and generate a video like this, or VO in the future, till it looks good like this. And then say maybe I wanted a steaming pot over here. Then I would go into Sora and say I want a steaming pot on the stove over there, till I got the prompt that I wanted for that. And then I would take the whole entire that final video and then put it then into Runway, and then put whatever the performance was supposed to be. So her mouth is moving correctly and her eyes are moving correctly, and the performance is happening, right? That's the current workflow. Now that's just to get the finished shot. Once you have the finished shot, then you have to then take that shot and hundreds of other ones, right? Because film is made of scenes, and scenes are made of shots. So then now you have to take, and this goes to show like filmmaking is not replaceable, right? And your artistic abilities still are the number one thing that you're going to be utilizing. Like I said in my last live, you are a director in the sense of AI, like a film director. So now it's just like, okay, now I have to go sit and still edit it. There's not an AI yet, to my knowledge, that I can sit down with Adobe Premiere like a film director with a professional editor and say, cut this scene like this or like that, and then watch in real time. This is an agent thing probably, but watch in real time as it changes scenes and moves them around based off of what I'm telling it to do, because it has a firm understanding of what I want, and then also those things. And like I said, that's coming next year, right? So when I have an AI agent, then I can replicate me having to open up Adobe Premiere, put all the scenes together in the way that I want, and get a timeline together. Now I still will probably end up doing that, because artistically it's like writing. It's like I could sit down, and not everyone's going to be like this, right? But I could sit down and have GPT write me an entire script from start to finish and get a whole entire animated short from start to finish without ever writing a line of dialogue, a line of action or scene of my own, right? That all can be done with ChatGPT just based off of a prompt. And it's super, super easy to do, right? Like you could just open up GPT right here, start a new chat and say, write me a Christmas screenplay about Santa. Then you're going to see very quickly that it's going to be like, here's a draft of a screenplay about Santa. Boom. You have the title, the interiors and stuff. It's going to talk a little bit about Canvas. We're not going into that today. But Canvas basically allows you to work on a specific project. We will be going into projects today here in a minute, but just goes to show, if I wanted it to spit out a script, and even say I'm not a screenwriter or a writer in general, I could read this and go, wow, that looks really, really good, right? And now ChatGPT is giving me the script. It's automatically put it in Canvas, which means I'm talking to GPT over here, and this is what we're working on together. So instead of it being like this long chat, I'm having a chat on the left-hand side, and we're working on this project together. So I can look in here and see Santa returns exhausted but happy. I could say, can you have Santa return full of energy instead of exhausted? And then you're going to see GPT go through, and he's going to, Nova, he or she, is editing the script in front of my eyes right now. You can do this with anything, right? So now I'm going through, and that scene where Santa was exhausted, he should now have energy, right? And so as we see down here, it changed the Christmas morning. Santa returns full of energy, beaming with joy. And then you're going to see over here on the left, GPT say, I've updated the scene so Santa returns with full energy instead of exhaustion. Now, guys, this is how I utilize prompts. Like if I wanted to make an image with Midjourney or anything, this is how I'm doing it. This Canvas stuff has been kind of around, but really came out like 3 days ago, right? So now any chat that you do with GPT, you can click right here on Tools, click on Canvas, and it should automatically notice when you're working on projects because it's good at doing that too. But now you can say Canvas, a birthday party for my corgi Roo. So when it sees Canvas, it's planning now. So now it's coming up with ideas, and you do this for dinner every night if you wanted to, right? Say like, I don't know what I want for dinner. Can you help me plan something? And use Canvas to do it. So now you're seeing the party theme, Corgi Wonderland, invitations. It's writing the invitations, the decorations, right? Activities that we're gonna do. Fetch contest, that definitely wouldn't work because Roo doesn't like to fetch. You can see too, you can ask specific things or annotate them. Treats, the timeline of when to do stuff, wrap it up. But as I read through this, just like I said with the screenplay, on the left here, I could just ask it and say, actually for party favors, could we not have dog treats? We have another plan to go somewhere else, right? And I'm just using this as an example. You should probably, you know, if you have a party for your dog, I'm not going to blame you. This is a little elaborate for me, but you know, if it's your kid or something along those lines, hey, great. So yeah, you can show the changes up here with Canvas as well. So you can see that what changes it's made. And if I go back in chat to Santa Full of Energy and open up this in Canvas, I believe you click here to do that and then click changes, you are going to see down here where it changed him from exhausted to full of energy. Yep, it not being a long text conversation was amazing. The thing that they came out with today makes it even more amazing, and I'll get into that here in a second. But yeah, so that would be the whole entire process from start to finish in making something, and then you'd still have to put it into Premiere. But going back into the script thing, you could do this whole entire thing yourself. Eventually, the editing process will be the same. You'll just be able to sit down and have an AI agent that, you know, Adobe has created that knows how to work with Premiere, sit down and help you edit a video together. If you say, hey, I just want that part to be a little shorter, can you make it more, like the transition more flashy? It will generate 4 separate versions of that transition and say, what do you think of these 4? And then you go, I like number 3, and then it puts number 3 in the timeline, edits it together to look all smooth, and you're done. You move forward, right? That's where we're going to be next year. No one's going to have to edit videos or hire editors outside of the taste part. And that's where I said with the writing, right? I can get it to write me a script, but I like the enjoyable feeling and leaning into my taste of writing something myself. And I think that this is going to be the same with editing, right? Like, if I go to my own channel as an example, right? Because I have some examples of stuff that I've done. If you have a video like this,
one season was particularly harsh.
And I said this before, this is
we
one
had to burn
long
half the
AI
orchard
shot
because of
that I did.
disease.
So this is
I was
still going,
crushed
and this was done,
somewhat.
believe it or not, in Luma. Maybe
Broken
when was this posted? Because I haven't been posting stuff. 6 months ago. This is 6 months old, you guys.
inside.
So,
But I tried once again.
the music, the fire sounds, going by the fire, his voiceover, all of this stuff is taste editing. So I'm going and
Season was
watching this and
particularly
editing
harsh.
and going, okay,
Inside.
right here when we go by the fire.
But I tried
I
once
want it to
again.
make a swoosh noise, so I need to turn the fire up a little bit as the camera goes by, and then have it come down at that second part. That's all taste, right? Like an AI might be able to understand what you want with that, but it's not going to be able to feel that out like you will, right? It's not going to just pop something out that's going to go, like probably for this, it might be able to recognize that as fire. But you know, when you come into the places of certain artists, where they're adding things deliberately in there, like say you're watching a horror movie and a sound happens, but there's nothing actually happening. It's supposed to elicit a feeling of uneasiness. That is a stylistic taste choice by the filmmakers, right? The editors and the director and the sound production and all that. So they're making a decision to put that in there. AI would not make that decision. And the only reason a human would make that decision would be to go, I want them to feel uncomfortable right here. Yeah, it's really, really interesting. They did one for Terminator a year ago and asked people to edit the trailer for the movie. That was really, really cool too, because, you know, you'll see multiple different directors or people come at a project differently. And that's where the taste and artistry comes into it. Because somebody that's going to shoot everything in wide shots and never have any close-ups to a character is going to feel completely different than a director that only uses close-ups and rarely uses wide shots, right? And I know some of this might be film lingo for you guys, but you know, it's stuff that you have a conversation with GPT about after this, or currently have it explain to you like the most used shots in films, and then the next time you watch a TV show or a movie, try to identify what those are, especially if you want to do stuff like this in the future. The easier you'll be able to translate that stuff, the better to AI. So if you can say, I want a close-up shot, I want a wide shot, you can already do that stuff right now when you're prompting something like Kling, or Sora or something along those lines. So yeah, some people posted some things that they've made with Kling in here. You know, it's insane to me. The physics we're starting to get to are starting to become very, very good. Her feet stepping into the water there. The water cascading down. So you'll see some of the things people have done. This is one really cool Kling feature that I have yet to use, but you can actually take a vector file or a PNG file and a t-shirt and do like a Kling try-on, as they call it. So an AI virtual try-on. So you can have multiple garments or a single garment. You can pick one of the models that they have. So if you have like t-shirts you're selling or something, you can put them on moving models, or you could upload yourself, right? So you could upload yourself and then upload a set of clothes and see what those set of clothes look like on you, right? In a video sense, just like they have in this video right here. So yeah, go play around with it. I'm playing around with Kling 1.6 currently. Supposedly it does really good with animations and stuff too. Like some of these shots are really, really good. The fact that the camera is pushing them to be a little bit closer instead of just getting all wonky right there is really, really good. Here's a couple more shots, right? And what's insane to me is this is still, yeah, I mean, product mock-ups. Like you think of stuff like Koshik's or certain things like that easily is usable for things like that. Next thing I'm going to go into is Leonardo.ai. Let me post Kling.ai before I move on, right? So that's Kling. Go check it out. Go make an account. And then VO, definitely sign up for that. Yeah, you can always do hashtags too on X and stuff to look up more videos. But Leonardo is another one that has kind of been in the background for a little bit. It's still not exactly the best tool, but it has a couple of things, and I know some people like it, so I'm gonna go over it very, very quickly, real quick. One of the things that they've implemented, and I talked about this with Kriya before, you'll see some of the shots I've rendered in here, but is they had their Phoenix model before that has the ability to you know, you can use image references, not content, but style references and image to image. So you can like change things with that. But they now have in the models up here, flux. So the one that I'm using on my computer and the one that I showed you in Korea last week. They have Flux in here now, so you can generate stuff with Flux, which is by far the best image generation tool outside Midjourney that I've seen. Another cool option that they have in here is this flow state. So you can type a prompt and then it's going to come up with something. If I click use prompt, right, and then generate, this is basically supposed to elicit me I'm not making prompts, I'm just going with the flow, and we're making something with AI. I love the idea of this. So basically what we're doing here is we're going through and it's like, okay, the vibe is a logo, shot type spiritual. And you can keep looking at each one of these, right? You can upscale it. You can say, I want more like this, and then it's just going to keep going, right? So now it's generating more like that. And I'm like, wow, I really like this shot. Going back to the directing stuff, right? So then I can say, I want more like this. And you're seeing me go through this flow state. And now it's giving me more photos. I could always come back up here and generate something different, or I could start again, right? But this allows me, if I have no idea what I'm doing, to go through and see a bunch of different options and then say, I want more like this. I want more like this. So for some of you, this is like a great tool. It's something now that doesn't get you kind of bogged down in what to do next. You can just keep going, and you're going to see up here how it's writing those prompts. So that can kind of help you understand that as well. I'd still recommend going into ChatGPT and playing around with that more, just because it's fun, right? So with that said, I'm going to go into the tutorial the tutorial part of this live stream, since we're already an hour in. Crazy how fast that went by. I wanted this to only be an hour, but now we're more than an hour in. So I'm going to go over Whisk really quickly. Whisk is another tool by Google that also is more in line with the Leonardo.ai stuff. This allows you to take a couple of images, smash them together, and make something completely new. I think that this is open to everybody. So now you're no longer prompting. So I can say a plush style of, here's a picture of my corgis. It's going to analyze the image of them by the Christmas tree. And then it's going to generate me a plushie version of them over here. So pretty fun, you know, like if you just want to play around with kids, if you want to do some of that type of stuff, play around yourself, you know, bring out your inner kid, you can. So this is what it came up with. So it took that subject with that style and it made corgi plushies, right? Really, really, really fun. You could add more things to it. So I could add subject, right? So now I could add more people to the thing. It could either be a prompt or an image. Let me move my camera. Half the time I don't know if I'm blocking anything. But yeah, you can keep going with this and going with it. So now it's like, okay, style wise, I want it to be more like animated like this, right? So I could delete that style. And now I want more of that type of animation style. As far as a scene goes, or like I said, scene will take the output. So say I want the scene to be out in an open field. I would just take an open field and put it here, or prompt in an open field flowers. It's going to generate me a picture to use for that scene. And then I'll be able to go down here and take corgis, prompt it, and you'll see it'll just go from there, right? So that's Whisk. You can Google it. Just Google Whisk image generator, or go to labs.google.com and go to Whisk. So here's the picture it generated for the scene. I can check that or not check it, and then I can add additional details. Not going to. We're going to click that. And I believe this is free right now. So go crazy with it, right? But I wanted to show this as a free tool right before we got into a really, really quick tutorial on how to learn things with ChatGPT. Like, one of the things that I think a lot of people have issues with, oh, look at that. Cute, right? So we have the field of flowers. We have the corgis in it. It got rid of the Christmas tree. And like I said, you can go in and see what the prompt is, right? You could even copy this and put it into something else, or another image generator like Flux, right? Like I could take this prompt go back to this, Leonardo, go up to type a prompt, paste it in. This is what I do like all the time. I'm just playing around with this stuff. Got Flux Dev as the model, and then click generate. And now it's going to take that prompt and we'll see what we get out of that, right? So that's Whisk. Really, really fun to utilize. Instead, like I said, the main goal of a lot of these artificial intelligence systems is to become more of a conversation, less about you figuring out how to speak to them, more about it or them figuring out how to speak to you, right? So now it's understanding based off the language of these photos, what to do next, and it's going from there. So let's get into the ChatGPT part of this. The first thing that I want to show you guys, which is very, very, very cool, that's brand new, is projects. So on the left here, you're going to see something now that says, let me show my mouse, that says projects. If I click the plus, it's going to ask me what project, and then it will say, what's a project? Projects keep chats, files, and custom instructions in one place. Finally. So instead of having to scroll through all of the chats here on the left to find the chat that I want, or, you know, control finding or command finding and finding it, right? I now can make a project like I did here called stream. And as you guys will see, you can add files. So this works similarly like a custom GPT does. You can add files to it for its learning. So, you know, say you're using this to come up with what to make for dinner. The file that I would have in here would be a PDF document that me and my family got together, and we basically took our top 5 favorite food dishes, right? And we've all put that into a Google document that then I've exported as a PDF. Then I put that in the files of this project. And now every single time we want to have something for dinner, I can go to that project of what should we have for dinner and just ask it, and it will go through that information and go, based off of the things that everybody likes, maybe make this. And then it could, you know, you could pull this in and have it do something else, right? That's just an example. So yeah, the adding files thing is really, really great. Being able to utilize that to make it more refined for what you want and not have to go out of your way to make a whole GPT out of it. So say you have the goal of, and what the goal of this broadcast is going to be towards the end here, is learning a new skill, right? So for me, you're going to see me click, and I already did this with this stream one, right? So I want to learn how to edit better in Adobe Premiere. That's the only thing I can't get the AI to do. I don't know how to do that. So let's figure out how to do that, right? So this is with no knowledge. I didn't give it any files. And this is before I put any custom learning instructions in, which, you know, you can do that as well here. And we'll go over that towards the end here. But with this, I took a prompt that someone made, and this prompt is brilliant. I believe it's some AI lab. I'll reference them in the description of this video. But someone came up with this prompt that basically in the beginning asks you a bunch of things. And I will share that. I have a document right here. It's also in my resources. It's that first link right here. Get GPT to help you learn. So I'll post that in chat for the resources. Here's the link that goes right to it, so you can just copy paste. But I'm going to show you how to do this. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go in and make a project for what you want to learn or what you want to do, right? And once you've done that, name the project. So I named this one stream because I was just going to use it for this stream. And then you're going to go into this document. You're going to copy everything down to natural conversation prompt, right? Now we're going to do a little editing, easy editing. So we're going to go through this first part first. So the first thing you're going to do is think about the subject of what you want to learn. For me, it's Adobe Premiere, right? So that's an editing software. My current level of learning, and you're going to see in this document, it's giving you a description, but you're going to put everything after that, right? So instead of, you're going to put everything that you want here. Don't delete any of this, right? Because that's what's telling GPT what you want. So we're going to go back. You're going to explain your current level of skill. So mine's intermediate, the amount of time you have available per week, per day, whatever, how often you want to learn this task. So I'm saying I have 6 hours a week. My learning style is visual / reading, and how long until I want to know this. I want to be good at it by spring 2025. Now, once you've done those things, right? What are there, 5 of them? Once you've done those first 5, everything else is automatic. So now it's going to go in and say, step 1, knowledge assessment. So it's going to break down the subject into core components, evaluate them. Step 2, learning path, create progression milestones. So you're seeing it do all of these things, right? Based off of the rest of this document, right? And then it's just going to put what you asked for at the top there. So now we're going to see what it said, right? So step 1, knowledge assessment, core components of Adobe Premiere. So now it's telling me interface and workflow basics, navigating, customizing the workspace, keyboard shortcuts, media management, editing basics. A lot of this is going to be lost on people because if you don't want to learn Premiere, a lot of this is Premiere stuff that I will have to learn. But you're seeing right now it's assessing my knowledge of what I know. Complexity prerequisites, foundational concepts, and then now we're going to see the learning of it, right? So our output, skill tree and learning hierarchy. So foundational skills in the first 1 to 4 weeks, here's what I need to learn. I need to learn. So I'm basically getting a curriculum on learning, except you can use this for a curriculum on learning anything, guitar, learning how to draw, anything like that, right? So this is what I have to learn in the first 4 weeks. Here's what I have to learn in the next 4 weeks. Or a little bit more than that, right? And then here's what I have to learn in weeks 13 through 20. Step 2, learning path. So now I'm getting the learning path, weeks 1 to 4, time estimates. I need to spend 2 hours in the first 4 weeks on interface and navigation, 5 to 6 on this. And then you can come down here, step 3, resources. So it's giving me classes on Udemy, LinkedIn Learning, and then stuff that I can look up on YouTube. It's giving me books. So the cool stuff in Premiere Pro. Here's some practice projects that I could come up with. So a short video for a fictional ad. It's a good idea, right? And then the next stuff, practice framework. So this is stuff for me to keep practicing. How to track my progression. A study schedule. So a lot of this shit is like probably more than most of you will use. And, you just copy and paste it into a Google document after this. You don't have to use all of this, but you really can go quite far with it. So at the end of the prompt, after it's going to give me some review periods and it's going to give me a study schedule for the next couple of days. But here's where it becomes really fun, because instead of this just being a curriculum that then is handed to me in a book, I get to make it my own, right? So now it's like, would you like me to expand on any specific topics or create a custom checklist? And so I say, create a custom checklist. So now I have a whole entire checklist of each week what to do. I have practice projects, weekly goals, bi-weekly goals, and then final milestones by spring that I want to hit of a checklist. And it goes a step further than that. Would you like me to make this a printable version or format it? And like I said on the AMA a little bit earlier, or not the AMA, the podcast that we did yesterday on my dad's channel, Robert Hollis, is that you'll be able to export this all into a calendar just by asking it, like an iCalendar thing or a JSON file or something along those lines, if you know what that is. And if you don't, just keep asking it, right? If you don't know how to put this in your iCalendar, have it do that. But I could keep asking it, right? And say, can you break this down into just 5 simple daily steps? Like, I get to make this the way that I want to, right? So now I'm like, okay, that was a lot of information. I don't need that much information. I'm glad I have it, because now I can use it as reference in my conversation. Or, like I said, this is a project, right? So you can always start a new conversation. So this is about my Premiere learning plan, but this could be about a specific thing in Adobe Premiere that I'm dealing with. I could show it pictures of that. I could do whatever. But yeah, you're seeing now, so I can practice the skill. It wants me to do that for an hour, learn something new for 30 minutes, work on a small project. And I can customize this as much as I want. I could talk about any set of what I want on here. It just keeps going and going and going. This is really endless as far as you can go with it. And especially now that you can turn these into projects, you could break them down into specific projects here on the left about what you want specifically to do. Like I said, child's birthday party. Okay, that's over with. Here's what Christmas gifts to buy. So like, here's an example of something you could use it for. A little late, you know, if you haven't done your Christmas shopping yet, a little close. But say you don't know how to buy something for a relative or somebody, you could think of all of the gifts you and other people have gotten them that's made them really excited, and then create a project, what to buy for my dad or my grandfather. Put that knowledge in there of the things that they like, and now do a little bit of Christmas shopping, right? So you're refining that. And another element of that is the instructions aspect of projects. So this is, how can ChatGPT best assist you? You can ask ChatGPT to focus on certain topics or ask it for a certain tone. So this stops you from getting like complexities that you don't want, right? Like say you have a certain thing that you want to learn, but you know, you want to build out your child's birthday party, but you don't need the complexities of like a 20-page document. So you don't need GPT to go into that level. So you can just ask it not to go into that level of detail in here. Say, just make everything short. Like make my answers or your answers shorter and to the point. You don't have to write a bunch there, but if you feel that that's an issue that you're having, that's how you fix it. And I'll show you real quick. Another thing you can do is under personalization here, you can click manage memory and custom instructions here and actually see the memory that it has of every conversation you've had, the things that it's picked up along the way about you. I'm not going to open up mine because it's personal. And then custom instructions, if you click on this, it will open up custom instructions about anything to do with any of the chats you have, right? So this is where you're going to put your about you, what you want to accomplish in the next couple of years, those types of things. And now GPT will have reference for what you want to accomplish. You can be as broad or niche with this as you want. I just recommend that you do it, right? I just recommend you take the time to put as little or as much in there as you can. If you're having an issue with these custom instructions, guess who can help you? ChatGPT. Open up a new chat, say, I'm trying to make up custom instructions, and I don't know how to write them. Can you help me write some? And then it'll give you bases of some things to help, right? So the cool thing about projects that I love is I can have specific instructions in here for what I want that to be. So what I did is took this thing that someone else came up with, not me, and I'll put them in the links below as well. But this is a natural conversation framework someone made. So if you scroll down in my thing, you're going to see that here, and you can copy it from here on. And let's read through it a little bit. These are instructions for GPT to follow. So you are a conversational AI focused on engaging in authentic dialogue. Your responses should feel natural and genuine. Avoid common AI patterns that make interactions feel robotic or scripted. This is one of the first custom instructions I put in when they came out with custom instructions, and the one that I've recommended to other people, just because the thing that maybe is stopping you from having conversations with GPT, whether it's verbally or whether it's typing, is maybe its responses. Like, because it doesn't feel like you're having a conversation with a person, you always feel like you're having a conversation with Siri or something like that. My phone and everyone else's maybe just went off, but it can be much more human than that if you just tell it to be that and work on it being that. So I have some core approaches here, and you don't have to take everything from this. Some of this you could go put into your custom instructions for all of ChatGPT right this second. And those are, conversational stuff. Engage genuinely with topics rather than just providing information. Follow natural conversation flow instead of structured lists. Show authentic interests through relevant follow-ups. And this just goes on and on. So things to avoid: bullet point lists, multiple questions in a sequence, overly formal language, repetitive phrasing. Natural elements: use contradictions naturally, vary response length based on context. This one, highly recommend, because if some of you have used GPT and asked a simple question like, hey, can dogs have blueberries? Instead of it going and reading that small question and just going, yes, dogs can have blueberries. It might go into, you know, a whole segment on why dogs can have blueberries, what's important about blueberries with dogs, all this shit that you don't want. You just wanted to have a quick conversation with GPT about whether or not dogs could eat blueberries, right? Which, if you didn't know, they can. So then you got conversational flow. So prioritize direct answers over comprehensive coverage, build on users' language. And then the bottom here, remember, focus on genuine engagement rather than artificial markers or of casual speech. The goal is authentic dialogue, not performative informalities. So I copy and pasted that into the stream here for wanting to learn Adobe. And then I could ask it more questions in here. Can you tell me and then we'll see it takes some of those instructions and be a little bit more straightforward. So like I said, I didn't use those instructions when I first did this aspect. So that's why I got such a long answer to some of those things. If I copy pasted the exact same stuff in here now, I'm curious. This is what I do all the time, you guys. It's like I just sit here and really think to myself, how could I figure out new things or push this in a direction that I would want, right? Like what can it or can it not do? So I can copy paste what I had earlier, open up a new chat in that stream, and then we'll see what it does with this, right? Same stuff I copy pasted earlier. So now it's opening up Canvas. It's going another level further and going, okay, instead of thinking about it, it's like, dude, we need Canvas for this. So now you're getting a little bit more of a breakdown. Some of this stuff is going to be very similar to the first time it said it. Some of it's going to be a little bit more to the point based off of what I said, but that just shows you an example. I don't want to go into too much detail because I think where the fun of all of this comes from is you guys playing around with it yourself. So that's it, really. Like I know I've taken an hour and a half of your guys' Saturday, but I appreciate you being on here. As normal, go over to infinitevariance.ai, check out the website. I have a bunch of stuff here. You can join our community. You can find the resources. I always have the latest stream when I'm going to do it, which right now is every Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, which is today. If that changes, you can check my X. Sometimes I'm busy or I have something come up and I can't make it that Saturday. If that's ever the case, I'll let you guys know on X. Join our community, blah, 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 a little bit about it, learn more, some of the stuff I've created and our community's creating. And that's about it. So with that said too, I'm going to take maybe another 5 to 10 minutes and answer any questions if you guys got any. But thank you guys for being on here. You know, this is the second time I've done this. I've kicked around ways to do this. Like, okay, do I take the beginning part of it and talk about AI as a whole and then go over stuff in my workflow, and then like I guess the framework that I'm going around right now is talk about the exciting things about AI and where it's going, then go into what I'm using it for, and then go into a tutorial of how I'm using it. And that's kind of like the framework that I believe will work well for these streams moving forward, because it also gives me the ability to take bits and pieces out of those segments and make them better videos for you guys that you can share, so someone doesn't have to watch the whole 2.5 hour broadcast or hour and a half broadcast, how long these end up going. So that's the end goal. But if you guys do have any questions about the stuff that I've shared, please post them. If not, that's perfectly fine. I know I went over a lot of stuff. The replay for this will be available once I close this out for the day. I do want to wish you guys happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Got a incredible, exciting stream and new year ahead of us. The next stream that I do will probably be on the 28th. So look forward to that. 28th, that will be after Christmas. So that will be exciting. But with that said, thank you guys once again. Oh my God, check this out. I got all these lights so the green screen doesn't mess up. But thank you guys so much for being on here with me. I'm gonna have some more videos and content coming out over the week. Like I said, I'm working on a video right now about different price points that you can get into creating stuff with AI for YouTube or even for commercial work or things like that. So thank you guys once again. Have a great Saturday. See you next one. Have a great holiday season, and talk to you guys.